Welcome once again to the Cult Emporium, and it's our fourth blog, and we have, of course, had last night, as we're recording now, we're having last night we had Flux episode 3, which was Once Upon Time, and here to discuss it with me is my Cult Emporium pal Phil. Good evening, Phil.
Hello. Can you believe that we're already halfway through?
Unbelievable. 3 episodes and we're halfway through a Doctor Who series. That's how it is in 2021. So yeah, we're going
being halfway through a 6-parter. So we've just had the corridor episode. It's all going to be gold.
Yes, because this episode it hit us all at once, didn't it? It was like being hit by a wave of the flux itself. We were scattered to all corners of space and time, and things weren't particularly linear, were they?
No, I mean, I think this was definitely a moving pieces in place for the next act kind of episode. I think, and I do wonder if maybe this is the way the series is going to go. We're going to get these mad flurries of activity, then an episode that's a bit more normal, that's a bit more traditional and conventional, and then we'll keep maybe in the intervening episode. So maybe episode 5 will also be like this. Who knows?
Maybe so. I quite enjoyed it. I mean, I struggled to wonder where we were going with some of it. But when you kind of get the concept in your head that time is fractured and the realities are different realities are intertwining with each other across time and space, then it's easier to understand the images before you. I think you've got to get the main concept in your head first.
Yeah, I think I sort of surrendered to it, and I found the constituent parts all very interesting. There was a new backstory for Vinda and for Dan.
Yes, because we were introduced to Belle, weren't we?
Yes.
And obviously we didn't know her connection with Insta Vinda, whatever his name is, till right at the end of the episode.
Yeah. So the Terry Nation estate got their contractual.
Yes, we were. Loads of fans got very excited for a second because the Daleks were there, but it was literally just for about 5 or 6 seconds, wasn't it? We didn't see much of the Daleks, but it was a tantalizing CGI glimpse of Belle avoiding them.
And your theory from last week was correct. The Cybermen were quite perfunctory in this episode as well. It was. But it sold the idea that the Flux was this, universe devastating event, and that all the major powers were going to take advantage of the situation. So it made perfect sense that they appeared, albeit briefly.
Yes, I mean, it was nice to see them, but as you said, we kind of suspected that it was only going to be a cameo. And we got the old swarm, didn't we? We got new swarm and old swarm. The pre-regenerative, I can't even say it, pre-regenerative swarm, and the post-regenerative swarm. I'm not saying that again.
Yes, you just made that make sense for me. I didn't get that. I just was like, oh, he looks a bit different, but now that actually makes sense.
Yeah. So this is what we mean by the that nothing was particularly linear in the episode.
So in the last episode, the more was it? Were they called the Mori?
The Mori, yeah.
The guardians of time.
Of time, yeah.
Been incapacitated, and Yaz and Vinda were put in their place. So time was flowing through them. And at the beginning, after the credits on this one, the Doctor took their place and scattered them throughout their own timeline to keep them safe.
Yeah.
Is that right?
And in the scene with the old swarm, she said, "I'm going to imprison you for eternity," which is where we came in at the beginning of the series with the soldiers checking on the imprisonment, and that's where the swarm regenerated.
Yeah.
So it's all very confusing.
And then in the Doctor's, so the Doctor's was flashing around her own timeline, and there was one where she was, and it made even more confusing because members of the regular cast were taking the places of the historical figures.
Yeah.
So she seemed to be on some kind of mission, which looked a bit Gallifreyan, a bit Gallifrey, a bit dark times or old times. The three of them seemed to be on a mission, and there was a reference to Dan being a dog, so that meant that she was on a mission with Lupari. And then we also got a flash. She looks in a mirror and she sees the fugitive Doctor.
Yes, it was described as a siege of Atropos, wasn't it?
That's right. Yes.
So I'm thinking the siege of Atropos was where the old swarm was.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, and then we then jump on to the swarm being imprisoned, being released again, and then they return to Atropos, and then there's more shenanigans going on there.
And this is perhaps the straw that breaks the camel's back for the Doctor working for the division. And as a result of this, this is when she, perhaps goes. Maybe this is the end of the story. So it could be before or after the fugitive of the Doctor, but at some point, the fugitive Doctor will be disgusted and go off in time and space.
Yes, I'm not quite sure what the fugitive Doctor quite has to do with this plot at the moment, but what I'm pretty sure is that we haven't seen the last of the fugitive Doctor this season. I'm pretty sure that that will be fully explained as time goes on.
Now, I've got some fan theories, and I'm going to apologise that I can't because I've just come off a long train journey and I've been reading different fan theories, so I can't credit these to the right people. But I've just because you're a
busy doable Barker. We do understand that.
But I've read some suggestions. So we in Yaz's reality, she was playing video games with a sister.
That's
was practicing a console game because she was dating some lad that was really into video games. I am wondering, in the last series, Ryan expressed his how he fancied Yaz's sister. She's all right, your sister, and he is also a FIFA champion. So I wonder if maybe I think Toshin Cole's far too busy to come back to Doctor Who, but I do wonder if maybe sometime next year in the specials before Yaz departs, there is like a tip of the hat to the fact that now Yaz's sister is dating Ryan, perhaps.
Oh yeah, could well be. We'll chalk that one up here and now.
So this child of Vinder's, another fan theory I've read is that perhaps this child could be, which apparently you can communicate with via Tamagotchi, because what's her name is it Belle, is it, or
Belle?
Yeah, she's communicating to her unborn child. I've read a theory that maybe that could be the Doctor, the child, that could be the timeless child.
So the Doctor is the timeless child.
Yeah, the Doctor, that maybe this is the child that is found against this breach in time and space.
Yeah, because time's all in flux anyway. As I say, we're going backwards and forwards. So, yeah, interesting theory there.
So there's lots to play for, and I know it didn't make sense, but for me, it was all interesting. It was visually arresting, and also it is only part 3 of a 6-part story, so I don't need it to make sense right now. And I've also, lived through the Stephen Moffat era, which
somebody described it like as Stephen Moffat on speed.
Yeah, I mean, so I think there's time for all of these threads to be revolved. Right now, it was tantalizing. and we did learn some new stuff.
We did, and one of the things we learned was that the passenger is a prison.
Yeah,
and can contain millions and millions of people. Time Lord technology, he's bigger on the inside.
And we also got to see Jodie do that really funny bit in the police car about the corner shop.
Yeah,
I thought was a great bit of comedy from her, and a side that we don't always get to see. So that was quite good.
And we saw a glimpse of a mysterious lady described in the credits as Orsock, I think it is, played by Barbara Flynn, who seems to know a lot about what's going on.
Yes, I saw a lot of people getting a lot of telly nerds getting very excited about Barbara Flynn. Why should I know her? What's she been in?
Oh, I can't think what we would know Barbara Flynn from, but she's been around quite a long time, hasn't she? My friend texted me actually and said, "Have we just seen the Doctor's mother?" And I think probably not.
No,
I think we should never learn too much about the Doctor. Otherwise, why have a program called Doctor Who?
And I've always thought the Doctor's mother is. I've always thought the Doctor's mother is these in the End of Time is that Time Lord woman that appears to Wilf.
Yeah, that was the way we all looked on that scene in the End of Time, isn't it?
Yeah, unless it was Chancellor Flavia, but
it could have been. But yeah, again, interesting. Who is she? Why does she know so much? Has she been instrumental in causing whatever's gone on?
Is she the baddie?
Is she the baddie?
Yeah, we last week we were talking about the Swarm and Azure being being the big bad, but actually they might just be pawns.
Well, she did say something to that effect, didn't she? That she says that they have been caught up in all this, but they're not the major protagonists.
Yeah.
So, and the Grand Serpent. What can we make of the Grand Serpent?
A bit dodgy.
Yeah, a bit of a Del Boy, really. Yeah. A Del Boy in space.
Yeah, and a seedy politician. So it sort of gave the backstory because there was this question about why Vinder had been left on this outpost, and actually we know now it's because he's got a strong moral character, don't we? I mean, he's actually on the side of right, and because Vinder spoke out about this. It was the death, wasn't it? It was an assassination, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's why he got rewarded for his trouble by being sent to the back end of Beyond,
which is where we first meet him.
Yeah.
And so next week we have Weeping Angels, the Village of the Angels, which looks like a more traditional style adventure. Do you think from the trailer we got?
I think that maybe the Angels will be dispatched in next week's episode in the way that we sort of put the Sontarans to bed last week. I sort of feel that whatever story is being told with the Weeping Angels will get boxed off next.
Yeah, you can't keep dragging it out and out, can you? You need to move on at some stage. But next week looks interesting. Looks dark and thrilling and mysterious. And yeah, I think we're in for a good episode next week.
Yeah. A friend of mine texted me afterwards and said, "Oh my God, next week looks amazing." So we'll see.
Yeah. So what would we give Once Upon Time out of 10?
I think, and this might sound a bit low, but I don't mean it. I don't mean this in a mean way. It's just this. It's just where it sits in the wider whole. I would say, I was going to say 6, but 7's, 7.
That's what I give it, 7.
Yeah, and I've seen a few people online complaining about it being confusing, but I would say that sometimes as Doctor Who fans we get caught up thinking about the casual viewer, and I would say there are series like Line of Duty, which are incredibly complicated and make references to, to conversations that were had by extras in the first series or something, and then there are children's properties like Harry Potter, which if you watch Harry Potter 5, are quite impenetrable if you haven't seen the previous ones. So maybe we just
and as you've mentioned before, you don't care because a new series has already been commissioned.
Yeah, and well, yeah, there is that. It's sort of like it's like well, all the things. If this isn't successful, then all the things that you would do, a new showrunner, a new doctor, are going to happen anyway. So it's everything is a bonus, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, for the most part, I mean, I'm enjoying the ride. Very much so enjoying the ride. I mean, even if there was no new era around the corner, I'd still be enjoying what's going out at the moment.
Yeah. Do you have a wish list? Anything that you would like to see in the next few weeks? Anything?
A wish list? Not a wish list as such. I just want to know where we stand with the Doctor's past, really, because at the moment this pre-Time Lord society, which he's supposedly come from, we don't know whether it's something the Master's invented, whether it's actually going to be canon, set in stone, that this is the Doctor's dark history, and I think we should kind of wrap that up.
Yeah,
we need to know where we stand in the time stream with is it canon or not.
I think for me, I would just like I love what we've seen of Jo Martin's fugitive Doctor. I would just like to see her in action, even if it's just 10 minutes at the beginning of an episode with a flashback sequence where we just get to see her running around corridors, waving a sonic screwdriver around, being the Doctor, and not necessarily in the context of a mystery for Jodie's Doctor. If you know what I mean. I just want to see her in action.
Well, as I said, I don't think we've seen the last of Jo Martin as Dr. Ruth. But where that will take us, I have no idea.
No. But it's all to play for and all very exciting.
Yeah. Is it 6:30 next Saturday? Do we know?
I don't know. I don't know.
We don't know. We watch it on iPlayer anyway.
Slipping a track in time, doesn't it? It's 6.
Time is splintered. Time is splintered, and that includes the BBC One schedules. If Strictly's on.
Yeah. Let's just be glad that it stayed between 6 and 6:30 in the last, which is more than can be said for previous years. So I think it's a good time. A good time. Okay, well, there we go. That was this week's Once Upon Time, and we're looking forward to the Village of the Angels next week. It's as I say, all to play for. It's all up in the air still. There's a lot to be explained, but we're having fun finding out, aren't we? Our voyage of discovery. Yeah, and I think for me, my further reading for this week is going to be, I'm going to recommend the Sylvester McCoy story Ghostlight, because if you thought this was complicated, wait until you've watched a Mark Platt script, because I think sometimes we forget that the what we call the classic series also had some complicated sci-fi stories. So
I haven't seen Ghostlight since it went out in 1989. I don't think. That was how much I loved it.
It's all.
But it would be interesting for me now to go back and have another look at it and just to, see what I make of it all these years later. Maybe that's my homework this week. Go and watch Ghostlight.
In the making of documentary, it's all made very clear, and you're just sort of left with the feeling that if they'd only had another part,
fourth part.
Let it breathe a little bit and maybe clarify some points, because it's very densely plotted and does make sense, but it just goes at breakneck speed.
And big news this week, because we have another Doctor Who animation out, which is Galaxy 4. Oh, you've got it as well. Now, I'm a true fan because I've turned the cover round to match all the other covers that I've got. You're just
Well,
you're just a fair weather fan because you've got the WH Smith version.
it's still in the shrink wrap.
Yeah.
It was in my letterbox when I got home. So. I've only just got it.
So you've not watched it, so you can't talk about it really. And I don't want to spoil things for you. But what I will say is Galaxy 4 doesn't have a great reputation among the fans. However, I genuinely did enjoy it. I thought it was a good. It's a bit slow in places, but I thought it was a nice character piece, really. And it's basically set on a planet which has very little time left before it burns up. It's orbited by 3 suns, and it's going to be frazzled to death. And it's a race against time. And the villains are not who you think they are.
No. And is it? Oh, I was going to say something that might spoil the story. So I won't. But then I did read it in Doctor Who magazine. Never mind. I'm going to spoil it. So is it a rare example of a female villain in early Who?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, okay. There is a female villain, Doctor Who, and some nice. There's a great making of on there, and also a little bit about this and the Underwater Marine has been returned to the archives. Then a little documentary on that. So yeah, as ever, whoever puts these things together, fabulous piece of merchandise there. So, and that came out this very day. So go and buy that, everybody. And the other thing I want to recommend to everybody is because Doctor Who and Cult Entertainment is just one string to our bow, isn't it? And the other thing is we go to the theatre a lot. Is that last night I was listening to the Big Finish audio called I, Jacobi, basically an interview with Derek Jacobi, who takes us through his career. Fabulous audio, listening to him talk about the kind of people he worked with. He's a little bit annoying because he doesn't diss on anybody. And I always want, a bit of gossip in there, and they at one point say to him about the infamous director, John Dexter, who was apparently a nightmare to work with. And he said, oh, yes, he gave me a very hard time for 2 years. And that it's just left at that. Well, tell us what the hard time was. What was the problem? If he didn't like you and you didn't like him, tell us. But it's far too nice, Derek Jacobi, to do those things. But just listening to the classical productions he's been with and the people he's worked with are like a who's who of showbiz of the last 60, 70 years, and it's amazing. So it's one of those audios that I really think anybody who's interested in the theatre, not particularly Doctor Who, he talks very little about Doctor Who, but he wants to, you must tune into that one.
Just the way that he doesn't really dish the dirt. It reminded me of the JNT memoirs that's also available on Big Finish, where everybody was lovely.
Yeah, and then Richard Marson's book comes out and proves that he was in battles with virtually everybody.
Yeah. But no, that sounds really good, and I think that's something that Big Finish has done a bit of, quite a bit of where they build this relationship with actors that that do a few audios for them, and then grant them an interview. They did, as I said, JNT, and then they also did Paul McGann quite early in the range.
Well, there's some excellent ones. Tom and Colin Baker. We've got Jacqueline Pierce did one, Carolyn Seymour did one, and they're all really revealing because you generally don't know a lot about the actor other than their CV. You look on IMDb or one of those things, and you think about an actor because you know what they've been in, but quite often that's only a tiny part of their life story, and some of it is absolutely fascinating. And yet there's still more. Haven't we got some Star Trek Discovery coming?
Yes, the new series of Star Trek Discovery starts in the US on Thursday. I was going to say Thursday night, but it's a streaming series, isn't it? So it will be released on. You're
so
Thursday.
Old school, Philip.
No, it airs. No, it's being released on Thursday. So In previous years, it has been released on Netflix in the UK and across Europe. There's a little question as to whether that's going to be the case this time. Nobody knows for sure, but it's not being advertised on Netflix, and usually they will drop a trailer and put it on their banner that there's a new episode starting on Friday or whatever. There's been no indication as yet. And we're also aware that Paramount Plus is being launched in the UK next year. So there's some question about whether it's going to be held back as a Paramount Plus exclusive, which is all very, very short-sighted, especially in this day and age. This is more a general rant, but I think in when the internet, a series will get spoiled on the internet because fans from all over the world will be talking, and it just really encourages piracy.
Yes, because it is now so easy to download stuff from showings around the world. And indeed, if something if something goes out in Australia and it's not going to be shown here, it's so easy to get hold of it now.
Yeah.
Just for example.
You're talking about Wentworth Prison, aren't you?
Not at all, because that has been shown here, thankfully. It took the entire length of the show for the UK to catch up and get it on the actual day it's shown in Australia. But sometimes there's been a huge, like a month or two's gap between the Australian showing and the British showing. And of course, if you're a fan of a particular series, you're going to get it spoiled for you at some stage, aren't you? When there's such a huge gap. If you're looking for information online about that particular series, it's inevitable you're going to click on something with a spoiler if there's a huge gap.
Yeah, and it basically this is kind of exclusive really to us in Europe. I'm sure if we have any American viewers that they get everything, but it's like we're just not viewed as an important territory by a lot of places. So you're okay with things like Netflix and Disney where there is a streaming platform in this country, but then there are other studios like Warner Brothers where or HBO that just sell off bits of their intellectual property and it goes to whoever the highest bidder is, meaning that a HBO series might be on Sky over here, or a Showtime series might go to Amazon or the BBC. So it's kind of hard to keep track of where these series are, and you're still waiting months for the series to drop when your American friends have already seen it. So it's frustrating, and I just can't believe that in 2021 that's still the case.
Indeed it is. Okay, is that it? Have we done? Is there anything else we need to mention this week?
No. I've finished ranting.
Have you finished ranting? That's good. Now, can I just say that you're still in the Rani's TARDIS there?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've come to Metabilis 3. Can you see that? I'm having trouble with a spider just behind me. Yeah, can you see that there?
I can see a spider.
So I've made the effort to move on.
Will you'd be collapse? You would be materializing in my lab shortly. And
I've been splintered in time. So I want to see a new background next week.
I'll change the desktop background.
Oh, otherwise you're fired.
Maybe I'll go for coral next week.
Ooh, coral, eh? Ooh, saucy. There we go. So thank you for listening to our ramblings, and hope you have a good week. And we'll be back next week to find out what is happening in the village of the Weeping Angels. Bye.